Hillary Clinton, and her campaign of 2008 started the birther controversy. I finished it. I finished it. You know what I mean. President Barack Obama was born in the United States, period.
For 5 years, he has led the birther movement to delegitimize our first black president. His campaign was founded on this outrageous lie. There is no erasing it in history.
All right, let's talk about it with our panel today, the political happenings of the day. Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Leslie Marshall, syndicated talk show host. Mercedes Schlapp, columnist for the Washington Times. And syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. All right. Steve, did you think we were done discussing this? President Obama's not running for another term, and yet it's back.
You know, it's a good thing the country doesn't have any pressing problems to deal with, because we can spend our time on things like this rather than entitlements and wars. Look, I mean, to me, this sort of sad, disappointing day kind of encapsulates the entire campaign in a way, and captures, I think, the things that bother, or the things that make each of these candidates unique. I mean, Hillary Clinton and her team, without question, helped push in the 2008 campaign this notion that Barack Obama was an other, was foreign. There's the Mark Penn memo. We have this reporter, or this Washington bureau chief.
Yeah, let me just throw that up real quick, because this is a Twitter from James Asher, who used to be the Washington bureau chief, I think, from McClatchy. And he, in this tweet, says, hashtag CNN says hashtag Hillary team in 2008 never raised the birther issue. Sid Blumenthal, which we've learned a lot more about given the email scandal, longtime HRC buddy, told me in person Obama born in Kenya. So, Steve, just part of the reporting today.
So there's no question that the Hillary team played a role in pushing this sense that Barack Obama was somehow other. However, Donald Trump, it's ridiculous for him to pretend like he wasn't the main driving force of this. He did this for years. He did it for years after President Obama presented his birth certificate in 2011. He was doing it as recently as last year, and interviews earlier this year. But what makes this sort of interesting, as like case study of this campaign, is Hillary Clinton is doing this in kind of a sneaky, dishonest way. She's launching this campaign quietly behind the scenes, and Trump is just owning it. Like, he just runs out there and says, I'm a birther, I think this is crazy, I don't think the president was born here, this isn't a conspiracy theory, and it sort of captures what makes each of the candidates unique.
Leslie, was this a little bit of a gift to the Hillary Clinton campaign? Because they've had a tough week with her health and with all the other things, the deplorables, the different things over the last few days she's been dealing with. But how much does she like that this is now back in the news, and she can sit there and say, basically, he's a racist?
I think she likes it a lot, because when you look at numbers, and he's done well in numbers, and I think part of that is not the basket of deplorables, but rather the fact that she has just not been there. And this is even before the pneumonia. This is like, you know, out of sight, out of mind. And he has improved, and he's improved not just in states like Florida and Ohio, but he has also improved across the board and in some swing states with certain groups like African Americans. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. It's almost any time he looks, and at one time just recently he had as low as 0% in the polls among African American voters. And when he sees there's hope, and his campaign says, wait a minute, we're seeing when we have a nicer, more diplomatic presidential, if you will, Donald Trump talking, you know, we do better. So listen, he doesn't believe the president wasn't born here, and everybody's saying we would need to hear it from him. He gets out there and he says it, but the motivation is, look, if you are black, vote for me. That's what he's doing here. And then, you know, this reminded me of Shannon. I have an 8- and 9-year-old, and he started it, but I'm finishing it. This is what it really reminded me of. Very childish. I know you're laughing, you know, with your kids.
I understand.
But seriously, because when you look at all the facts, fact check, PolitiCheck, et cetera, although there was one email within the Clinton campaign, the rest of all of the writings and Twitter and emails were not campaign workers, but rather supporters. Nothing came from her camp publicly. Nothing came from Hillary Clinton publicly.
The campaign manager had to fire one of the supporters.
Right,
and then the Mark Penn memo really raises
email.
questions because of the fact that Mark Penn is the one that said maybe we need to fundamentally question whether Obama is American. I mean, I think those are strong words coming from Mark Penn.
But I don't think that the allegation, an accusation by Donald Trump that Hillary in her campaign started this is accurate at all. I think that goes was on him and the others who jumped on the
argue,
birther
I think
campaign.
Politico even came out and said that there are the die-hard Clinton supporters who were trying to push forward.
Supporter is not a campaign worker.
Well, but Mark
and not
Penn was
Hillary
part
Clinton.
of the campaign.
Not one person fired. Hillary Clinton.
Mark Penn was not fired.
Hillary Clinton never said publicly, and every time we see anything with reference to that,
and she may
thinks
not
it's
have had to
ridiculous.
say it publicly. If those who are closest to her are going around saying to people like the Washington bureau chief of McClatchy, hey, by the way, he was born in Kenya.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the planning of ideas and the planning of the
By
conversation.
some of the advisors, absolutely.
So, is it time to close the door on this?
Oh, absolutely. I hope that we could just close the door on this. I think it's unfortunate. I think it should have, look, the door should have been closed 2011 when Obama came out and released his birth certificate. Fine, if they had legitimate concerns at the time, and Donald Trump did, and a certain number of Americans questioned whether he was an American citizen, White House came out, released the birth certificate. This should have been a done deal. And I think it's very important now for the Trump campaign. It's one of the reasons they needed to stop this nonsense, move on, back to the policy discussion. It's where Donald Trump is strong right now. It's where he's starting to continue to win the support of American voters, and why the momentum is shifting in his favor.
Yeah, the discipline has paid off for him, for sure. Now, there was some pushback today. He had this big event at the Trump Hotel that opened here in D.C. He had a number of military, very distinguished guests and heroes on stage with him today. He had said that he was going to talk about this birther issue. That was suggested. And so as the media stood by, they had to listen to person after person after person, military hero, all of them praising him. Not everyone in the media was happy about that. Here's what Jake Tapper said about that.
While we all got rickrolled and played in terms of rolling the endorsements from those American heroes who came out to talk about Donald Trump and why they support him, Medal of Honor recipients and the like, what's largely going to be covered are these two sentences, one of which is completely untrue.
There was quite the lead up, Charles, but listen, he's a showman. He scripted this definitely to his advantage.
The only thing missing from that event were the Trump steaks. I thought they would roll
I think they were served right after for lunch.
Of the kitchen and show all his other things. Look, he has a way of attracting the press and making them jump. They jumped and they came and they showed what he wanted them to show. But when he says, or when Mercedes says that this should have ended in 2011, well, the person who didn't end it in 2011 and who could have was Donald Trump. All he had to do was to say then what he says now. I don't think the information has changed. The politics have changed, and he wants to get this behind him. But he has spoken about it and expressed his doubts continuously since 2011. So he's hardly innocent about the continuation of this story. But I think they're smart. I'm sure this is Kellyanne Conway saying you've got to say the words, however much it hurts. You say it once, you add a period at the end. That's supposed to mean I'm done talking about this, and I think he will stop talking about it, and it will go away. Look, I think the reason he's done so well in the polls is because for about 3 weeks he's refrained from these distractions and eruptions. This was a recurrence of one. He ended it, and now he can continue his rehabilitation.
Yeah, we'll see how the trending in the polls, if it continues, or if this is a blip. We'll find out.